Special episode of the Soccer and Fitness Show. I'm the creator of the podcast and the host, Sean Spencer. Today is episode 49. I can't believe we're actually this far into it. But today is actually a special episode. So I've been talking for, I'd say for the past sort of 2 months. My ambition with the podcast was to sort of somehow blend that in with the coaching board, which was a YouTube channel that I set up two years ago back in North Carolina. This is a different YouTube channel than the sort of the old Resolute Fitness, now Sean Resolute, which was more fitness content like workouts and stuff like that. This was a coaching board which was purely about soccer, football, book reviews, tactics, coaching, all that sort of good stuff. But COVID hit, and then I decided just to concentrate on the other channel. Eventually, sort of this time last year, started Soccer and Fitness podcasts, sort of hosted on Anchor, and it goes on to Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But the aim was always to get back to the to coaching board and get that set up. So that is what happened this week. I did a little sort of update. I was walking and did a little update and posted that to the channel. So coaching board is now up and running. Now what I would like to do is have the podcasts still going on, but also try and record them, so that you can, if you're interested in more video content, you can watch that on YouTube. But if you're happy with the podcast, so you just, listen in your car or whatever, then nothing's going to change. The only thing that has changed is that I am now filming here on the camera, which is slightly strange because I've sort of got two things going on at the same time. So this is the first time, episode 49, Soccer and Fitness, and we're back over on coaching board, but it's essentially a similar thing. So in today's episode, in just a second, I'm just going to talk about a couple of books that I've got at the moment. Some of them that I've already reviewed on the coaching board last year, but I'm just going to sort of tie the podcast with the YouTube, but you'll see in a second. Other news, one of the tricky things was here, my sort of studio, if you will, is basically a closet. It's a walk-in closet, but because it's surrounded by clothes, it it's soundproof pretty nicely. But that doesn't really make too much. It's not very interesting for video content. So I've got a green screen, and then basically had to learn how to do a green screen today. So I have no idea how this is going to turn out. If you are a regular to the podcast and would like to see, like I said, head over to Coaching Board. Hopefully I've put that into the description, a nice little link. But yeah, let's get going. As is always tradition on Soccer and Fitness, I've got my beer, which is today old school Budweiser. That's all we got left. It was a gift, actually. We got like a box of it from somebody who works in the brewery. So yeah, that is what we're drinking. I'm gonna record this and then heading out. I've also got my retro Liverpool top on, so if you are watching on the camera, you can see that. All right, cheers. Sit back, relax, and we will get started. Alright, so let's just jump straight in. So at the moment, what I'm currently reading is a book called Zonal Marking. Zonal Marking, which the author is Michael Cox. Michael Cox, he also did the Mixer, the book The Mixer, and I haven't actually read that, so that will definitely be on the list. But just reading sort of the back for you, in the early 90s, Dutch footballing philosophy was worshipped across the continent. Then baton passed to the Italians, who clearly boasted Europe's strongest league. But when France started winning everything at international level, its national academy became the template for others. until suddenly, almost out of nowhere, Europe's most revered player and manager both hailed from Portugal. Next, Barcelona, and before tiki-taka's decline meant Bayern Munich's Germany took control. Finally, Europe's most successful coaches found themselves competing in England, introducing a brilliant cacophony of styles to the Premier League. Zonal Marking is a glorious travelogue through soccer's triumphant styles and characters. So I've been reading this. I think I got this around Christmas time, and it starts pretty much with the Dutch. So around sort of the 60s and the 70s, going into I think the early 80s. Talks about Cruyff going from sort of a player and then influencing sort of the coaching world with Ajax and Barcelona. And then also talks a lot about his relationship with Van Gaal. Obviously, Van Gaal, a lot of people might know him from more recently from Manchester United. He had a little spell there, wasn't very successful, but a very successful manager throughout his career, and his sort of stamp, his style has been put on to world soccer for many years. The difference between Cruyff was a little bit more fluid in his approach, and he sort of promoted a little bit more creativity with his attacking players, and the sort of book touches basically that comes from him as a player. So he was allowed freedom because he was such a great player, and didn't really have them restrictions. So then when he moved into coaching and his managerial career, he sort of gave players the same sort of freedom, where Van Gaal was very sort of systematic, and the book sort of talks about him being more German than Dutch. The first chapter as well, and again I'm only going to talk about these first couple of chapters with Holland, the sort of the Dutch players. Talk about how the culture of the players, so like the Dennis Bergkamps and the Cruyffs and these type of people, how they were used to being able to have some sort of input in the changing room and on the field, instead of it sort of coming down to the head coach saying exactly what has to happen all the time. And that's where they say it sort of differs with where Van Gaal sort of almost comes across a little bit more like a German style coach, which I thought was interesting, because Germany is very much, it's like a well-oiled sort of machine, the way they go around about everything in soccer. So yeah, it was interesting to see them sort of little differences between Holland and Germany. Yeah, and then obviously it's now into the bit where I'm up to is we're into sort of Spain, Portugal, Spain, and a bit more tiki-taka style of play. But yeah, good book. I highly recommend that one. Grassroots, recreational level coaches, it's a good one, or just an armchair fan. So you don't need to be sort of like a high level soccer brain to be able to read this. It sort of holds your hand through it, and also it's pretty interesting how the chapters have been broke up with the different countries. So yeah, Zonal Marking, highly recommend that one. Alright, and then I'm just going to touch on, so I had this book, it's called Rinus Michael's Team Building, Road to Success. Now this has pretty much been my Bible since, I would say, 2010, I think I got it. So I had this back in England, and obviously moving out to America, all sort of my library of books have gone the wayside. But this was one that I wanted to get back as soon as possible, and it actually just arrived a few days ago. 2 years ago, I did a review of this book. I think anybody who is interested in coaching, management style, like this is a brilliant book. And also, if you're not in soccer and just in a managerial role, I think it translates as well, about team building. And what I love about this book is how it starts with basically walking through the front door at a soccer club, and step by step what needs to happen and what decisions you need to make. And it also talks about little sort of roadblocks along the way. Yeah, and it really is like a roadmap. I've just flicked to page 62. It talks about, I'll show the people on the camera, that's like the building up of the play, and then it has all the different sort of bullet points, and then attacking style, and then goes into sort of defensive style and counter-attack strategy. So this is an amazing book, and I'm going to go into this one in more detail in the upcoming sort of weeks. But yeah, if you can get this is, I got it on Amazon. It's about $15, so it's not super cheap, but it's worth every penny. Yeah, and it even says it on the back actually. Rinus Michaels has called upon his knowledge and experience to write Team Building, The Road to Success. The result is a soccer Bible for coaches, trainers and managers throughout the world as a source of inspiration. And I think that's exactly what it is. And again, I read this, like the first time I read this was over 10 years ago, and you know, read it many times as sort of like a reference book since then. And then past sort of few years, I've had a little break of coaching soccer here and there, but now I think it's time to, you know, start getting the library back, so to speak. All right, so that's about it. Like I said, it's a little bit of a strange podcast, because it's kind of like a little experiment for me, and seeing if it's going to be possible to sort of do this dual podcast stroke YouTube. And I think it should work, but we'll see. And also, like I said, with the green screen, I think if I can figure out how to do it right, I think it'll be a fun little feature. Other than that, that's about it. It is Wednesday, 26th of January. It's Cornelius's second birthday. Cornelius is our dog. So yeah, other than that, everything's going well. So make sure you leave a comment for those that are on YouTube, and for those that are listening on the podcast, if you can leave a review, it helps massively. You can find me on social media at the Spencer on Twitter, capital T, capital S. YouTube, Coaching Board is probably going to be the best way, and Sean Resolute on Instagram. And yeah, I'll be back soon. I think maybe Wednesday today. I think Friday I'm gonna maybe do another podcast. All right, bye.